who tackle big challenges, climbing mountains, cycling huge distances, running ultramarathons, that sort of thing. Andy Stone from Eccleshall has done one or two of his own over the years. A couple of years ago, he completed a world record 70 triathlons in 75 days, for example. That, though, wasn't enough for Andy. He set his sights on swimming the Channel, a challenge which has so far been disrupted by the weather. But he's using that as a warm-up to be the first person to officially swim across the Atlantic Ocean. What a challenge. It proved difficult for the Titanic. So how is Andy going to get on? Matt Lee's got more details first and foremost.
So I'm kind of picking the swimming up as I go, and I'm happy with that. The riding, that's the longest section of it, but you get a bit of a break on the ride because you can go downhill. It's the run, really.
That's Andy Stone from Eccleshall speaking to us way back in June 2021 as he prepared to tackle 35 triathlons, each of them 35 miles long in just 35 days. That involved a mile swim, a 28-mile bike ride and a 6-mile run each and every day. And if you think that's impressive, wait until you hear what he tried a year later.
So my challenge is 70.3 mile triathlons in 70 days.
Yep, 70 triathlons, each of them 70 miles long in just 75 days, breaking a world record for the most triathlons completed in a year.
I would seen other guys kind of crossing the line and always wondered what it felt like. And now I know, and it's incredible.
And just as you think it can't get any more impressive than that, just listen to the place he battled back from to do these epic challenges.
I'm a recovering alcoholic and cocaine addict, and I have about 7 years dry now. I really wanted to sort of put myself on the map a little bit and achieve something for me personally, to know that I can now, but also as a bit of a service really for people going through addiction, to let them know just how good life is once we are sorted and out the other side.
Quite the journey that he's been on. He loves the challenge, but the Atlantic Ocean, this is going to be quite possibly the biggest challenge of the lot. Andy Stone from Eccleshall, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Lee. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Our pleasure, mate. Our pleasure. Lots to unpick here. So let's start with the latest Channel attempt. That was this weekend, wasn't it? Just what was that like? If you're in the Channel and it gets called off because of the weather, just paint the picture for us.
So yeah, it'd been a tough week weather-wise. So I was third swimmer that week with that particular skipper, and so you have to be quite patient. You get a 24-hour notice call, and that's still a bit vague, and then they give you a 12-hour absolute thumbs up that you're going to be going on a specific tide. So you can either be in Dover sort of dwelling around, or you can still be at home and then just peg it down the motorway when you get the phone call, which is what we did. And we arrived, everything went sort of plan A. All the preparation had been done for the last kind of 8 months. And then it's a bit surreal, if I'm honest, when you get to Dover and you can see France. We could see the finish line from our accommodation. So we kind of got there and went out on the boat. You arrive on the beach. They sort of chug you around, and you're on the beach at the base of the White Cliffs, and you start in that epic spot. And it's like 3, 2, 1, go, and the big sort of horn goes on the boat, and you get in the water, and you're doing it, and that training's kind of come to fruition, and you're off. And so, at about 5 hours in, I got a bit bored, and so my mind started to wander. I'm ADHD, so there's not a lot to concentrate on.
Yeah.
And so got into French water. There's basically 5 sectors. There's the English inland water, the English shipping lane, the intermediate or separation zone, the French shipping lane, and then the inland French water. And I'd got to the French shipping channel, and so my morale just went through the roof. They showed me like a little sign over the edge of the boat,
nearly there,
to say that where we were. And I got a second wind. So from hours 7 to kind of 9.5, I felt better then than I did when I first got in, and I was really just chugging away. It was great. And then all of a sudden, all the crew from over the side of the boat said, "No, you've got to stop." And I thought, why? Like, because if you touch the boat or touch the feeder wrong or touch a member of the crew, you're instantly disqualified because of the rules.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd done something wrong. I just all of a sudden like, no. The first thing out of my mouth was no. And then they explained what was going on, and they had to fish me out and get me back on the boat. And the skipper was dreading telling me, and he kind of said, "No, Andy, it's nothing to do with you. The swell's coming up. They normally stop people by force 3 winds, and they were approaching force 6. And it was about to go dark."
So it wasn't as scary then as it sounds. So you were just ploughing on with this, carrying on, swimming across the channel. France is in sight. You're nearly there. Because I was imagining something like out of a horror film here was like coming to sweep you away. You were that zoned in. You didn't notice how bad the weather conditions and the water was around you.
Exactly that. Yeah. So I just thought, because having never done it before, I just thought this is all part of it. And so there were waves hitting me and I was kind of rolling and it was putting me off my rhythm, but I was just able to just kind of get on with it again. And I was on the leeward side of the boat. So the boat does calm the swell to a degree.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I'd actually physically got back on the boat and I could see the other side and just how big the swells were coming in.
That said, having seen the potential dangers there and the trials and tribulations of swimming the channel, which is a relatively short distance compared to what I'm about to say, the Atlantic, Andy, looking to be the first person to officially swim across. Where's this idea come from?
Well, it was off the back of the 70s world record. And so that was 10 and a half weeks. And we'd gone on a family holiday to New York. We'd spent 3 or 4 nights over there in December. And we were, on the plane, there's a little map that lets you know how far across you are.
Yeah.
And Sally, my partner, kind of looked across at me and kind of said, "I wonder if anyone's ever swum across the Atlantic." And that was it. That was all it took. And the seed was planted and it's becoming a bit of a monster now. So everything that we're doing is with that in mind.
Is that all it was? Just literally that seed? Because there's a difference, right? I've often sat here and thought, I wonder if anybody's walked on the rings of Saturn. It doesn't mean I'm going to go out tomorrow and, and do it. So what took it from that seed to it actually becoming a thing?
So with having ADHD and my dopamine can get very carried away, and once I get a kind of a reward in my brain, I can chase after it. But research and finding out what other people had done, and there's a chap, Ben Lecomte, he did it unofficially. He swam from Cape Cod back to France, but his time was too quick. So at night when he got back on the boat will have drifted back towards France. So he didn't swim the true distance. So we spoke to Ben. Ross Edgley holds the current stage swim record when he swam around Great Britain. And we spoke to his skipper, and he's been transatlantic in the same boat. So we got some great information from them too. Sean Conway, he swam from Land's End to John O'Groats before Ross. We had a conversation with him. He was awesome as well. So just starting piecing stuff together. It's like, how do we eat an elephant? A little bit at a time. So we just started gaining information and speaking to the right people.
Do you know how long it'd take?
Based on swimming the channel a day, so it would be the equivalent distance of 20 miles a day for 3.5 months.
What?
Yeah.
That is crackers.
We've had all the legislation off the World Open Water Swimming Association to give us the criteria of what I have to adhere to. So I'd be able to have fins on my feet. I'd be able to be in a wetsuit. Mask and snorkel rather than goggles, so I wouldn't have to turn my head to breathe. So there would be things to make the swim on a daily basis actually potentially a little bit easier than the channel.
Oh, yeah.
The channel's famous for being one of the world's toughest swims because of the volume of water coming from the North Sea and the Atlantic and pushing through that tiny channel. So it's a nightmare. Whereas the Atlantic, provided we were in contact with the Met Office, we could. If you look at the currents on the surface of the Atlantic, they look like rivers. The currents meander across the Atlantic. And so you'd have to stay in one of those.
I love how you've spoken to the Open Water Swimming Association about doing this as the first official person to swim across the channel, and they're like, yeah, you can wear a wetsuit and flippers to make it easier. Yeah. I mean, literally, if you'll pardon the pun, a drop in the ocean there. I can't wait to see how you get on with this, mate, because when we say challenge, blimey, Charlie, this is a challenge and a half. What was it that made you do this? Was it to just get over the obstacles with alcohol and the like earlier in life? Is that the reason you set out to do these challenges initially?
It certainly was the case with the triathlons. That
Focus.
But I've kind of developed past that now to a degree. Personally, I now know that the root of my drinking and drug abuse was because I didn't fit in, and the reason I don't fit in is because I am neurodiverse. I do have ADHD and autism, and that I am now 100% convinced, as I say, was the root of my drug abuse. But I'm now very comfortable with my kind of addiction recovery, if you like. And so now the next progress for me is neurodiversity, and I do believe that is my superpower. So instead of me having issues with it and difficulty trying to fit in a neurotypical world and banging my head against the wall because I can't hold a job down and trying to escape from my life and my head, I'm now able to, I've researched it, and it is now my superpower, and it is my ADHD that enables me to do these things. And so I work at Martech opposite the hospital in Newcastle as a mentor for neurodiverse kids. I'm raised money for Cordwell Youth for the Channel Swim. And it's all to do with trying to put back to help educate youngsters to not make those early mistakes that I did, to go off on that trajectory of mental unwellness, if you like, and try and sort of educate them early and put seeds into their brains to say, oh my God, right, I've got that same condition. Maybe I can do that sort of stuff, and give them hope and optimism to go on and fulfill it. So if I can put a flag in the ground and go, right, yeah, if you can recover, you can set a world record in triathlon, because nothing special about me. And then neurodiverse people, if you can learn what it is that you've got and sort of harness it, the world's your oyster. And if I can then go and do something like the Atlantic and go, right, neurodiversity is what is going to give you this ability to go and do this kind of stuff.
I've got to leave it there, Andy, because I've got to go and do the travel news. As far as the travel news is concerned, Atlantic at the moment, a little bit choppy. So take care if you're planning on going anywhere near it anytime soon. Mate, it's an amazing challenge that you're going to undertake. It's superb. Everything crossed for you. We'll stay in touch and we'll follow you every step along the way.
Amazing.
Your story's incredible. Thank you so much for coming on again with us.
Lee, thank you so much for having me, mate. Really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Andy Stone from Eccleshall. What a man he is, isn't he? What a man. So tried to swim across the channel, got stopped right towards the end because of the dangerous weather conditions affecting the water, etc. And he's now got his sights on swimming across the Atlantic Ocean, becoming the first person ever to do so. And you just heard there, he started out on this journey to kind of help him with his autism and his ADHD, and he was battling with alcohol addiction as well. But now he's just on a journey of doing challenge after challenge, all started by those battles and those other challenges earlier in his life. What a man. We will keep you bang up to date with his progress.